Hello and welcome to the first part of this framework that is based on positive psychology, which includes the sailboat metaphor and like life navigation based on positive psychology. I have my cap on that I got from the school masterclass that I'm happy that I got it. So I have this on in this video, and I was a little bit dressed up because this is the first part of this series of the framework based on positive psychology. So I'm really very happy to be able to record this for you and share the knowledge that is included in this program and how you can apply it. The program is designed to help you and support you for change and to get better well-being and to reach your goals and increase self-knowledge and all other cool stuff that's included here. So today is just a introduction to positive psychology. Let's go. At the core of positive psychology is the relationship that people have with themselves. And it's about relating to yourself that you have so that you can either live like your best self, how you can like reach your potential and become a better person to live your best self. And this is like very close to coaching in general. Positive psychology is still an area from psychology, within psychology. So that's why it's really interesting to look at people's potential, their strengths, and to get like a balanced view on humans. So here we begin with the history of positive psychology. Just a brief history. It has its roots in humanistic psychology from the 1950s, and it's a holistic approach to human existence. That meaning, values, freedom, responsibility, and human potential. And for example, Abraham Maslow here, Carl Rogers, and Rollo May are the grandfathers of positive psychology. The reason for positive psychology is that it was like a reaction to behaviorism and psychoanalysis, and the focus on weaknesses or like what's wrong with people. People felt that it was not enough to just focus on the like the sick part of people in like mental sickness. And the problem was like a lack of religious methodology to actually help people feel their best and have like the best possible lives instead of just fixing their problems, which I will tell you is not enough. And there has been a like success in a self-help area. People want this, but not so much in the universities. So that's why they started studying positive psychology in a more scientific way to see what actually works, what doesn't work, so that people can actually use good knowledge instead of just feel good material, which I think that we all of us have seen in different books and courses and on TV. You have bought a course and you will hope that it will be really good, but it's mostly just boost your motivation or for a while and then doesn't work, even though you really believe in it and try to apply it, this still doesn't work. So it's that has been like more a philosophy than a psychology, and they wanted to have like more empirical studies and results to see what actually works. But because people still today say a lot of things that sounds good and that they have proof that it works for them and their test subjects. But how do you know that it works for you? And that's the biggest problem with all self-help and self-development and business development, that there are so many factors that affects every person's situation, so you don't really know if it works for you. So positive psychology is an approach of humanistic psychology, but with scientific methodology, just to try to make it better. So, okay. Then a quote here by Seligman and Csikszentmihalyi. I haven't practiced that, but that's the guy from the flow. Psychology has since World War II become a science largely about healing, to get better from illness, and it concentrates on repairing damage within a disease model of human functioning. So it's not so much focused on getting from 0 to +10. It's more about getting from -10 to 0. And the focus has always been like on weaknesses, what's wrong with people. And that's like a big thing that's not good for you if you constantly ask, what's wrong with me? And then try to fix that. That's like the history of Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. He asked this question and did a lot of things to try to fix it. And he traveled around the world, but he was still like, had this void inside himself, which is something I'm really interested in. That you can still feel and have that, even though you do all those things that should make you feel so good and fix your problems. But then he realized that it doesn't really work like that. And that's also the same idea with positive psychology. It's not the absence of stress, for example, that make you feel good or that make you be healthy. It's more about that you have the stress, but you handle it in a way which then a good way, which will create a healthy and well-being person. And when you can handle them well, they are not even negative. Like stress in itself is not a bad thing. It's called the two types of stress: distress and eustress. And if you have much of that good stress, based on the way you handle it, you feel pretty good and you feel activated and motivated to do things. So yes, they wanted to change this focus and from like which factors impair human functioning. That's what's like Mark Manson thought about in the beginning. I need to take away all those things that doesn't help me so that I can actually be good. But it doesn't work like that. And here's just one thing to show you the ratio between, let's say, problems and solutions, or things that makes you feel and be good. So anger has like 5,000 abstractions, anxiety 40,000, and depression 50,000, and between these years. And then we look at things that are generally seen as good things: joy 400, happiness 1,700, life satisfaction 2,500, almost 2,600, but these are all still much less than those on the left side. And the ratio is 21 to 1. There's like 20 times more focus on scientific studies focusing on those things, those problems that we need, that are really important to fix and to take care about. But there's not so much on the right side of this picture, where there are things that makes you feel happy, feel good, what creates a good life. The idea has been that we take away those on the left side, and then things will take care of them by themselves. But it doesn't really work like that. So the focus has been on weaknesses, getting from -5 to 0. And what happens then? Yeah, are you really happy and at your best potential when you are at 0? Will you get to +5 just by knowing that I don't have anxiety, I don't have depression, all other diseases that you might have, like you might still have them, but they're not a problem for you. You can handle them, but then how do you get to +5? And that's like the core question of positive psychology. Then we move forward to misconceptions about weaknesses. That strengthens the argument for that it's not enough to just focus on weaknesses. Misconception number 1, fixing what is wrong automatically leads to well-being. And as counterintuitive it might sound, happiness and unhappiness are not on the same continuum. They are not like, you don't go from unhappiness to happiness on the same line. So many scholars have argued that health is not merely the absence of illness or something negative. Instead, it's the presence of something positive. Health and well-being is a state where the individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with the normal stresses of life. That will not happen if you don't work on it and practice and understand yourself. There's a growing body of research that shows that the absence of mental illness does not imply the presence of mental health, and that the absence of mental health does not imply the presence of mental illness. Yeah. Positive effect and negative effect are not on the same continuum. Getting rid of anger, fear, and depression will not automatically cause peace, love, and joy. That the absence of mental illness does not imply the presence of mental health. And this picture shows what this means. That you are on the 0 doesn't mean that you are on the +5. That's like obvious, but that's what we have been in a way taught, that take care of your problems, take care of your diagnosis and your depression and anxiety and bipolar personality disorder, whatever you have, and then you will get to 5 or like that maximum. It doesn't happen by itself. Then misconception number 2, effective coping is reflected by a reduction of negative states. That's like, it's not the absence of stress that is related to successful weight maintenance, but rather the ability to effectively deal with stress. For example, for introverts in client-facing positions and coaches, if you have a lot of clients, it's not that you need to take away all the stress, it's your ability to effectively deal with the stress and the energy drain that will make you successful, and that you can successfully handle this. And we go to number 3. A weakness focus can help to prevent problems. When it comes to prevention, the question should not be how can we treat people with problem X effectively, but how can problem X be prevented from occurring? That's like, let's say, double loop learning, that you don't only focus on the symptoms and trying to fix problems, but we look at the causes and the assumptions that lead to certain situations, and then we can then focus on fixing them, getting the solution to that. We can then focus on looking at the solution to those situations that doesn't create this other situation in the future. So it's like getting closer to the source of fixing, instead of just treating the surface level symptoms and problems. Number 4, weaknesses deserve more attention because strengths will take care of themselves. And just like skills, strengths can be trained and developed deliberately, and they should be. New habits can be created from practice and effort. And when strengths are not used or trained, the potential effect on well-being is limited. And this is also obvious when you think about it, when you understand the mechanisms behind the assumption and idea is that the strengths and the positive sides will take care of themselves. But it doesn't really work like that, because at the moment the healthcare has a lot of resources and we know so much more than 50 years ago, but still people suffer. And while suffering is a part of life, a natural part, it's more about how you deal with the suffering. If you still focus on trying to get away from the suffering, then we will not become more happy and feel better. So strengths need to be nurtured to realize their full potential. and we go to focus on strengths. Martin Seligman is a big influential person on the modern positive psychology. And that's the scientific study of optimal human functioning that aims to discover and promote the factors that allow individuals and communities to thrive. And the focus is on strengths. What's right about people? That's the focus. And which factors promote human flourishing so that we can get to this from 0 to +5 to get on the positive side. Like why is that so difficult? Like, why haven't we figured that out yet? Not that we have figured out how it works, but just that we actually need to focus on the 0 to +5. And of course, there's a big area of self-development and personal development and self-improving, and that's obvious, understandable, because there's no other space providing it, and because there is no other space and there is no scientific area, then it's like hit or miss. You don't know what works and doesn't work, even though it sounds really good. Then we go to the field of just some criticism about this. This is the first wave of positive psychology, and there's it's good to be critical and not think too much about it. Ignoring weaknesses will not promote well-being, so we can't ignore the weaknesses, and that's something we will talk more about. Positive psychology is not an addition to the field, it's not a replacement. There is no negative psychology. It's just like there is developmental psychology, personality psychology, and all clinical psychology. Positive psychology is one of those fields in psychology. And psychology reaches far beyond the subdomains of psychopathology and clinical psychology. It's more like you can apply it on anyone and everyone, and you don't look at their starting point, just more about where do they, all people want to live and feel as good as possible, and that's applicable to everyone. All people want to be their best. Many other areas have been focusing on well-being for many years, even before the introduction of positive psychology in 2000. That's when positive psychology was introduced. So this is very new in that sense, that is official and people believe in it. Positive psychology asks these type of questions. How can we increase happiness? What characteristics of people and environments are related to a high level of well-being? How can we also develop valid measurement tools? How can we measure this? What's the role of positive emotions and experience? And how can we create healthy self-esteem? These are really good questions. What's left until we end this? The more we know, the better. So you don't believe that if I meditate for 8 hours, that's 8 times better than 1 hour. But maybe this scientific empirical studies say that 1 hour is enough. It doesn't give you any much more value from doing 8 hours. And then you can apply that instead, because you have the belief also. I know that in general, it doesn't help to do more of this than what's needed. Where's the border? Because there's so many other things you can do, and you can't just focus on everything. So we will go into more the details of this and talk about the sailboat metaphor and all those stuff in the coming videos. Then also we'll go into the second wave and also talk about more of the parts of this model that's coming. So thank you for attention, and see you in the next video. Bye.